Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You got to start over now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Alex, what's new?
Apparently just learning how to talk again.
Oh.
What's new? I just got back from our camping and fishing trip, which is I'd like to call it an annual trip, but unfortunately it hasn't always been annual, but we try to do it almost every year. My dad and my brother and I, we go camping and fishing way up north in Northern Ontario, drive till there's no cell phone service, and we camp and fish for a week. And this year we decided to bring our two boys, Emerson and Kyle. They're both 4 years old, so it's definitely a change of pace of the trip, but it was so fun, so amazing. We made a lot of great memories, and the boys are excited to go again next year.
Oh, good.
I'm sure if you guys follow me on Facebook, you saw the post of the pictures and videos I put up, but we had the boys feeding chipmunks out of their mouth with peanuts, which was hilarious. One of the funniest things I've ever seen is kids feeding chipmunks out of their mouth with peanuts. They were holding, Emerson picked up a chipmunk, like a suitcase carry, picked up a chipmunk. They caught fish, they helped cook the fish, they did all the different camping things. So it was a really, really cool experience, a lot of fun.
That's amazing. For anyone who hasn't watched the video that you posted, like, your kid is adorable. Him and Kyle are so freaking sweet. However, the very best part of that video was the audio coming from Alex and his brother in the background, who were absolutely wheezing.
I think it was just me.
Really? Oh my God.
It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So my dad was videotaping as I was trying to get the boys lined up to get the chipmunk in. And this chipmunk was the most friendly chipmunk I've ever met. And so as my dad's videotaping, the chipmunk jumped on my dad, which got me laughing. He didn't even have the peanut. So it's sitting on his arm as he's like videotaping the boys. And then it went up and got the peanut out of Emerson's mouth. But as it did, it put its paws up on his face. And he did not like that. He said it was sharp and it hurt him, and he didn't want to do that again.
Okay, in all fairness, though, he handled himself exceptionally well. Yeah. He was well articulated. He was like emotionally regulated and was just like, I did not enjoy that, and I don't want to do this anymore.
And after I wish the video had continued, because after the video stopped, he asked, "Why are you guys laughing at me?" Yeah, it was pretty entertaining. So he was angry at Grandpa after for telling him to do this, and he made sure that his mom knew and his grandmother knew that Grandpa made him do this.
Excellent. Oh, I love this kid.
All right. If anybody wants to hear more of the stories, just shoot me a message and I'll tell you, but we're going to roll on with this podcast. What do you got today for a topic?
So I wanted to talk about minor caloric adjustments that you can make for big change.
Okay.
So I know Breaking 90 members, we're measuring proteins and alternates. We're not looking at calories on a day-to-day basis. However, anyone who's listening can benefit from this. So can be 90 members. Because really, when at the end of the day, it's calories in versus calories out.
Yeah.
So I just thought we could go through a list of options, right? Just brainstorming things that people can consider when they're in the kitchen, they're making their recipes, to see how they can tweak a recipe they already love, or if they're just throwing something together where they can make, little substitutions that are going to make a big difference over time.
What's the first one I'm going to say, Kelly?
You're going to talk about Greek yogurt for sure. And it's on my list.
I knew you were going to call me out on that.
I have a Jericho one first though. So the first one on my list, and it's in no particular order, by the way. So if you kind of jump around, that's fun.
Cool.
But peanut butter. So a lot of people throw peanut butter in their smoothies, and this is something where you can easily make an adjustment with PB2 or PB&Me. So it's powdered peanut butter. It's significantly less calories, especially when you are thinking about, cumulatively over a week or a month, and it still has the flavor that you're looking for.
Yeah. So something that's important with a lot of these like modified foods. So what powdered peanut butter is it's a dehydrated peanut butter, which removes a lot of the oils and fats from the food. So you're making a trade-off here. It's still giving you the taste and flavor you're looking for. It has a much better calorie to protein ratio, but you are losing a lot of the healthy fats and oils that we do get from a peanut butter. So it's that there's nothing wrong with either side of this battle. If you're trying to save calories, this is a no-brainer. I use it all the time. I put it in my smoothies. It totally makes sense. But on the flip side, you are giving up some of the nutrients that you would get from a normal peanut butter. So that's something to be aware of, especially with marketing, because marketing will just make you believe this is the better option. Mm-hmm. Well, there's not one that's the better option. They both fit different scenarios.
Yeah. And I think, for someone like myself, when I think about accessing healthy fats, peanut butter isn't my go-to. So totally. Maybe it is for some people, but if I want to fit an avocado in my day, putting PB2 in my smoothie allows me to have the calories in the avocado that I might enjoy more in a meal than I would really enjoy actual peanut butter in my smoothie. Right. So like you're saying, it's just a little bit of a, yeah.
I use the PB2 all the time. It's my go-to, but or what, I don't even know which company I use, to tell you the truth, but I use the powdered peanut butter all the time. It's I love it. Cool. It's a great solution or substitution if you haven't tried it.
Okay, so second on my list, I've got mayonnaise for mustard, and specifically because people are going to be like, no, Kelly, I'm talking about sandwiches. So if you're putting together a sandwich and you normally put mayonnaise on it, mustard is a great condiment to use. Like we're talking basically nothing at this point, and it's tasty, right? It's going to flavor things up. The other area where I really kind of make maybe like a ratio kind of substitution is when I'm doing deviled eggs. So rather than doing just mayonnaise for deviled eggs, I will actually do less mayonnaise and add a lot more mustard. Again, kind of livening up a different kind of flavor and still helping out with calories.
Okay, two things to add to this one. Okay. What is something else you can use in place of mayonnaise, Kelly?
You can also use Greek yogurt.
And so a lot of people are going to think that's insane. Like, I'm not asking you to spread Greek yogurt on like a sandwich, but in something like deviled eggs or egg salad, you can use mayonnaise or you can use Greek yogurt as a substitute in a lot of those. If you're not using tons of it, it will work as a solution.
Yeah. And I think one of the things to remember in that kind of a scenario is that you might want to be squeezing in something like a lemon juice or putting in different flavors, because Greek yogurt that is plain has a very significant or identifiable flavor that is not mayonnaise. And we get that, right?
Yeah. And so I think the key there is like, is literally the portion. Like if you shouldn't be adding a ton of Greek yogurt, you're adding enough to get enough of the consistency you're looking for, but you're not adding the Greek yogurt really for the flavoring. You're adding it to get that food to the consistency you want it to be at. So the only thing I would tag in, and you probably we're going to mention this at some point, but with mustard as a condiment is hot sauces. They're almost all hot sauces are going to be like next to no calories. If you like spice, they're a really, really good option to add to your foods.
Cool. That's great. I actually didn't have hot sauce, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The next one on the list is if you are a sandwich eater, open face sandwiches, right? You're eliminating one piece of bread, one slice of bread. And a lot of open face sandwiches are delicious.
Yeah. Yep. You can get, and don't be fooled that thinking a wrap is always the better solution either. Some of those wraps are so calorie dense. It's insane. But there are better options out there. There's breads that are significantly less calories because they're much thinner. Those are options. There's like the disgusting protein breads that some people eat. I would never recommend that personally, but I know there's people that at least pretend to like them.
You're just like oozing with judgment right now.
There's this one bread, I forget what it's called, but it is disgusting. Like
Yeah.
I would rather use meat as the bun for my sandwich than this bread.
Okay. That's saying something.
Yeah. We watched the new Buzz Lightyear movie the other day, and that in that movie they're like in the future, and that's what they do. But and so Buzz Lightyear comes from the past, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, he explains that it used to be meat bread, and they're like, "That's so much bread. That sandwich must have been so dry." It was really funny.
That's really cute. I love that. Thank you. So the next one I've got is if you are using like an almond milk in your, or cashew milk or a nut milk of any kind in your smoothie,
Nice.
or throughout the day. If you're using a sweetened, switching to the unsweetened, or at least transitioning yourself into the unsweetened. It's not a massive difference in calories, but again, cumulatively, you're looking at a difference.
Even just using the almond milk as a replacement for what you probably used to use milk for will be a huge caloric difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one I think is going to be really hurtful, and I don't want anyone to take this personally. If you are someone who puts sugar in your coffee, this is just about reducing, right? So reducing it even by 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon, until you are at your limit. It might not be black, but that is just one way to reduce your calories. If you were someone, I know before breaking 90, it was a heaping teaspoon, and then it became a measured teaspoon, and then, so on and so forth, towards black. It's just one opportunity in your day, your week, your month to reduce.
Two things I want to add to that one too. So the first one is the actual portion size, which you touched on there, from heaping to a measured. With everything you're doing, but actually being aware of the portion size. Because if you're like, oh yeah, I use about a teaspoon, but it's like mounding, it's probably like a tablespoon.
Yep.
And so be aware of actually how much you're using, and that we can't manage what we don't measure. So if you're just guessing, you don't really know if you're reducing or making changes there.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to add is a lot of people have chosen healthier substitutes for sugar. And a lot of these substitutes are great. They will offer the sweetness, but if your goal is to reduce calorie intake, a lot of them are still going to have a significant amount of calories, like honey, for instance. Is it the better choice? Probably from a health standpoint, but it's still going to have a lot of calories. So don't think that because something is healthy, it also means it's good for fat loss or it's going to aid in your fat loss, like avocado. It's really, really friggin' healthy, but it has a lot of calories. So it's just something to be aware of.
That's awesome. Thank you. So then fast food meals, get them, have them, just maybe don't get the side, right? And for some people, pardon me, let me back up. The portions, because you just mentioned this, are ridiculous. When we actually learn about what a good healthy portion is, the wrap that you ordered, probably half is suitable for a realistic appetite for some people, or most women. Let's focus on that. So even just reducing what you're eating in terms of the portion itself, or saying no side, right? No fries. And it doesn't mean that you have to get a salad instead to be considered healthy. You're allowed to say no side, period.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll even take it a little bit away from fast food with restaurant food. What I encourage a lot of our members to do is to go into that meal, first of all, knowing what they're going to order so that you're not tempted.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what you're already going to order, and you know what portion allotment you've got available to you. So you say, we do a point system in B90. So they'd say, I know I have this many points left, but you could do the same thing with calories. I know I have this many calories left. As soon as it hits the table, separate it. This is what I can eat to fit in my goal. Can I please get a takeout container to put the rest of this in for tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. And as well, if people are open to it, like, drink water, right? Yeah. Instead of the juices, instead of the beverages that you treat yourself to every once in a while, the big change that you can make is ordering water with your meal.
Yeah.
Good. Next one. Okay.
Yeah.
So You did sour cream and Greek yogurt. So I'm going to switch to cheese versus no cheese. And I recognize that this is not a substitution. But what I wanted to ask people is, given what you put cheese on, is it adding that much more flavor to your meal? Right. So, for something like cheese on top of a chili bowl, yeah, it adds a texture, it adds a flavor. It's delicious, especially if you're looking at Tex-Mex cheese. But I know for myself, if I put cheese on an egg salad sandwich, it didn't do much for me. Right. So just kind of weighing whether or not it's truly adding value in terms of your experience, right? Because that is important. We don't want you to miss out on that. Sometimes cheese versus no cheese can be a substitution that you make, or an adjustment that you make, I should say.
And so I had cheese written down, but from a different standpoint is that you can find better cheese choices too. They might, but it's still going to come with sacrifice. Like, it's probably not going to be as enjoyable as that cheese that you typically enjoy. But actually paying attention to the nutrition facts on cheese, you can find ones that have a better protein to calorie ratio. But you make a really good point. I mean, most foods don't require cheese to be delicious. Mm. They just add to the deliciousness.
Good. The next one I have you to thank for, regular pepperettes versus turkey pepperettes, right? So getting more of your protein, where it's not counting necessarily towards as fatty of a food. And it's just going to be something, again, that adds up over time.
Yeah. That's a great one. I love the turkey pepperettes. Are you going to say beef jerky too?
I didn't put that in there, but I just wanted to say pepperettes for pepperettes essentially. But yeah, that's a good one as well.
Yeah, beef jerky is another really good one. It's got a really good protein to calorie ratio. You hear me saying protein to calorie ratio a lot in this conversation, guys. That's a really quick reference when you're making a decision at a grocery store, a convenience store, a restaurant. Look at how much protein to calories you're hitting, and that's the quickest way to make your decision if you're trying to make a good choice. I like to get as close to my 10% rule as possible. So what that means is 10 grams of protein for every 100 calories. And you're not going to hit that with a lot of foods, but just being as close to that as possible is an easy way to reference foods.
Awesome. Thank you. This next one I feel really excited about. So when I'm sauteing vegetables for any kind of recipe, I tend to do my mushrooms first because it creates a lot of juice. And so when I go to saute other vegetables, rather than having to use butter or oil, it's in mushroom juice. It's flavorful. I absolutely love it. That's my first choice, just because I do love mushrooms. But you've also got access to stock, right? Beef stock, chicken stock, veg stock. All of that is excellent. And the other thing is, if you're noticing it drying out as you're sauteing, toss in a little bit of water. Yeah. We don't necessarily need the butter or the oil, though. If you're looking for texture, those things are still important, but you can add in some of the other things rather than topping up with the oil or the butter.
For sure. Huge. And what I would add to that too is that spray oils is a way of making oil go really far. I know a lot of people get carried away with spray oils and like, oh, I just use a little spray, but you're probably using as much as a tablespoon of oil anyway. An interesting little experiment, if you want to do it, is to weigh your can of oil, spray the amount you use, and weigh your can of oil again to see how much oil you're actually using. But you can make oil go much further in a spray form.
That's great. You touched on this next one a little bit, so I just kind of wrote down generally sauce, and you talked about hot sauces. I just wanted to add in salsa. It's nice and juicy and flavorful, and it also goes a long way in meals.
I love salsa. I use it all the time. And if you get like a garden fresh salsa, it's really just like vegetables and herbs. Like you've got an awesome choice there with salsa.
That's great. The next one is rice, and substituting it for cauliflower rice, or even just 50-50, right? So I am not a fan of substituting rice products for a lot. I don't want a cauliflower pizza crust. I don't want cauliflower steaks. I just think that's an imposter thing. But when it comes to rice, yeah, I can handle that. So like I said, if it is 50-50 or you're transitioning into cauliflower rice, that's something that kind of holds the integrity of the texture that you're looking for.
Yeah. I've had like mashed cauliflower, which has been really good. For me, like I don't need rice in my meal. I'm good with a protein and vegetable most times, but sometimes I just want the rice, so I'd rather just have the rice, and that's okay too if you just
Mhm.
make the allotment for the actual food, but maybe you're limiting the portion size or the frequency of how often you eat it. That's still an option. But if you're the type of person that's like, I need this with every meal, that's then try a substitute for sure. I'd rather just eat it half as often and have the actual item.
Cool. That's great. The next one is juice or alcohol. So the beverages that are high in calories and
Yeah,
substituting for sparkling water. They're huge right now. The flavors are insane from company to company, just in deliciousness.
yeah,
So if that's something that you can kind of incorporate in as the treat that juice or alcohol once was, I mean, it's exciting compared to regular water.
totally.
So it is an option.
Yeah, your evening beverages are probably a huge part of the problem. If
Right.
you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, that might be me, it is you. It's one thing to have a couple drinks here and there, but if you're having a couple drinks every night or most nights, it adds up. It's tough. Like that's tough to fit that into your calorie allotment.
Yeah, you are so regularly diplomatic that when you come in and make a bold statement, it just catches me off guard and I find it absolutely hilarious. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The next one, probably a little, people might resist, but if you're someone who really likes freezies, like that cold treat in the summer, tea pops are an option. I think we talked about this on a previous podcast. You can brew a tea that you love. You can still incorporate some, sweetener into it, and then pouring them into the popsicle molds. Those can be a nice option if freezies are typically a go-to. You won't fool your children, but you will be doing yourself a favor.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely won't fool the kids.
Yeah.
Cool. Good one.
Okay. Ice cream. They have incredible frozen Greek yogurt bars these days, and they are significantly less in calories and fat. I love them. They're
Mhm.
fruity and flavorful, and you can get them pretty much everywhere. So that might be something to consider as we are in summer.
And so what I'll loop back on that one is that don't get tricked by frozen yogurt,
Yeah.
because a lot of frozen yogurts are just as high calorie, just as high sugar as a lot of the ice creams are. So you're not always making the better choice by getting frozen yogurt. Sometimes you might be, but it doesn't, just because it's frozen yogurt doesn't mean it is the better choice. What Kelly's talking about are like the frozen Greek yogurt dessert options will
Mhm.
often have a much better protein to calorie ratio. So Greek yogurt and yogurt are significantly different. A lot of the tubs of frozen yogurt are sweetened to the point that they're basically just ice cream alternatives. Yeah, something to be aware of it if you're into the ice cream thing for sure, like I
That's helpful. Same.
am.
The next one are your Frappuccino, Mochaccino, your really fancy drinks from Starbucks that are pretty high in sugar and fat. A really great alternative is the nitro cold brews with sweet cream. They are just as delicious. You're sacrificing some whipped cream there, but they're still sweet and they're cold and they quench your thirst.
What Starbucks can fit into a cup is mind bending to
Yeah,
me. They have some drinks that are like 800 calories.
I
It
know.
is insane. If you're drinking 800 calories, you're gonna have a hard friggin' time with this journey. You The other alternative there is making homemade versions. You can make homemade versions of these drinks for like a quarter or an eighth of the calories.
Absolutely. And some people, including myself, will say I can't make them as good.
No,
And
of course
that's
not.
definitely going to be true the first time around. But even if you're just trying out the nitro cold brews, they're significantly better in terms of less calories.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Good one.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting towards the end of the list here. This is going to be a little bit of a hard sell because when you want it, you want it, but candy for fruit. When you are on this journey, especially if you're doing most of the things that we've already talked about, you're already developing a palate that doesn't want as sugary of an item. So when you eat things like grapes, pineapple, like just the really sweet fruits. Those are absolutely delicious and can really do the same thing or a similar thing for your craving or your desire instead of hard candies.
If you are, just like Kelly said, if you're the person that really likes sugar, as you start to remove sugar, you won't like sugar as much.
Yeah. And these fruits will be amazing, right?
Yeah.
You eat a mango and you're like, oh my God, this is such a treat.
Yeah. You'll go back to that item that you used to crave and love and be like, this isn't quite as good as I remember it being.
I've even said like, oh my God, this makes my teeth hurt.
Yeah. I used to drink full test Pepsi when I was a kid. And now like a Pepsi or a Coke is disgusting to me. It tastes awful to me.
Yeah. And this is over time, and this is no judgment to anyone who's still drinking these things. It's just that as you're reducing sugar in your diet, it's going to be something that you're naturally like, this is too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. You mentioned this one briefly earlier. Just be wary of wraps. So if you are someone who does enjoy wraps, rice wraps are a really great option. And I'm not talking about the cardboard version of a regular wrap. I'm talking about the rice thin wraps that you soak in water, take them out and you mold them. They are delicious. They are significantly less in calories. They have a great texture if you're okay with chewiness, because some people just really want to chew their food, right?
Yeah.
And this goes well with all kinds of cuisines, not just Thai.
Yeah. Yeah. There's different wrap alternatives too that are decent. There's a protein wrap that's okay. It's way better than the bread. And there's
pretending.
And there's a egg wrap. That you can buy that is it's like a primarily egg base and it's almost zero. It's like 20 calories or something. That's decent too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next one is chips for popcorn. You can eat so much more popcorn. And you've given out some really great options in terms of like, I think salt, lime juice, and balsamic vinegar. Is that?
I just do salt and lime juice for one. And the other one is some Parmesan and black pepper.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, it's great. And I mean, if you're someone who just kind of wants to put your hand in a bowl and eat, popcorn is a really good option. Chips, you measure out 28 and you're done.
Yeah. 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 It's really easy to eat a whole bag of chips.
Yes. The next one is burgers. So a lot of us, when we think burgers, we think beef right away. And, that's the way we've been conditioned to think. But a turkey or a chicken burger is a great alternative. You're still getting the texture, and it's going to be a little bit less in terms of your caloric intake.
Yeah. You've got so many different options too with the ground turkeys and ground chickens, but also a chicken breast can make such an amazing burger with like some fresh vegetables and avocado and a nice sauce. It's amazing.
Yeah. The next one, we're in our top two now. You talked about already, but I just want to reiterate your breads. This is simply to be mindful. It's not to say that you have to take it out. You're talking about things being deceiving in the way that they're marketed. I was buying thin buns for the longest time, thinking that I was making the best decision possible. And you introduced me to a brioche bun, which I tell you feels like a treat. Yeah. And it was less calories than the thin bun I was consuming.
Yeah.
So rye toast is another one. I think one of them has per 2 slices, it's 130 calories versus some breads, 1 slice is 190. So just really knowing what you like, doing the comparison to see, am I truly making the best decision for myself, instead of making the assumption based on thick or thinness.
Yeah. And if you honestly always shooting for the lowest calorie option will often be like, this is not worth it. If you find something in the middle, if you find something that's maybe 10 or 20 calories higher than the lowest calorie option, it will often be much better. There's like naan bread buns that are like pretty low that taste amazing.
Okay, so I also really love what you're saying. Shoot for the middle. Like you don't have to choose the highest or the lowest and judge yourself based on where you are. Choosing the middle option is great. I love that just in terms of mindset alone.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so then number one, a little bit cheeky. If you're doing a lot of these things in the list that we've talked about already, pizza for pizza, just eat it. Yeah. Just enjoy it. If you are making these sacrifices on a weekly, daily, monthly basis, just enjoy the things that you love then.
Yeah. Less frequent or less quantity.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're minimizing the damage, you're doing well.
Sometimes you need the actual item.
Yeah. And I mean, we can still talk about the fact that you can do thin crust, that you can do,
Yeah.
you can ask for less cheese, right?
More vegetables.
More vegetables, exactly. But if it's coming down to, you have done these 21 things that we've talked about, just enjoy your pizza.
Yeah, I love it. I want to circle back because I didn't give Greek yogurt enough attention on this episode. Um, when you mentioned salsa, I should have mentioned this, but putting sriracha. So I mentioned hot sauce and I mentioned Greek yogurt, but putting sriracha into Greek yogurt and getting it to the temperature that you like it can be used as salad dressings, as spreads on sandwiches. It can be used for almost anything. So make sure you guys try that.
Well, actually, the Mexican pizza that we order from our local restaurant does a Greek yogurt and salsa as
Nice.
the dipping sauce, which I just thought was fantastic.
Yeah, I've used salsa as the pizza base before on a chicken pizza, and it's so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I'm all done.
Sweet. I love that episode. I think people are going to find that so helpful. I'm glad you picked that topic. So the end tip I want to leave you with, guys, is another substitute, actually, because it's one of the ones that I've found to be the absolute best. And so it's a Wendy's Frosty substitute. If you guys need the recipe, shoot me a message and I can get it to you, but you could probably find it on my social media. So all it uses is almond milk, ice cubes, vanilla, cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder, and banana. Those are the only ingredients going in it. And it's like, the first time I had it, it's like, this is one of the damn closest substitutes I've ever made.
Well, you've made my day.
Yeah, go. It's I think you can find it on any of our social media platforms, but if you can't, shoot me a message and I'll get it out to you guys.
That's awesome.
Okay.